I've spent my entire life staring at the sky not because I'm looking for comfort, but because the universe refuses to stop provoking us. Every time we think we've mapped its rules, it drops something unexpected into our cosmic backyard, something like 3I/ATLAS. And the moment it appeared, the world reacted exactly as I expected. Fascination, hysteria, conspiracy threads multiplying like bacteria in a warm petri dish. Not because the object was extraordinary, but because humans can't resist assigning meaning to anything that dares cross our celestial borders. When the first alert from the Atlas survey reached me, an object on a hyperbolic trajectory, unmistakably interstellar, I didn't feel fear or revelation. I felt the familiar itch of curiosity, the kind that has pushed Homo sapiens across oceans, deserts, and entire eras. But alongside that ancient curiosity came an equally ancient flaw. We assume visitors from elsewhere must be purposeful, intelligent, maybe even judgmental, as if the cosmos gives exams and we're terrified of failing. You could feel a cultural tremor building before the data even settled. Podcasts speculated about messages hidden in the light curve. UFO forums declared victory. A few journalists asked me outright if this was the moment we've been waiting for, the arrival of a guest from beyond the stars. They seemed disappointed when I told them the truth. Science cannot leap just because imagination sprints ahead. We had to observe first, always observe first. But the early observations did feel strange. No obvious cometary tail, unusual brightness fluctuation, and the kind of orbital signature that made one thing clear. This thing wasn't born anywhere near the sun. It was older, colder, carrying a history written long before Earth had oxygen. The moment people heard the term interstellar, they practically erupted. And I watched, half amused, half concerned, as humanity revived its old obsession with cosmic visitors. The irony was painful. We've barely figured out how to treat each other, yet we're desperate for validation from civilizations we've never met. Still, I dove into the data. As a scientist, I live for anomalies, and even I had to admit, 3I/ATLAS didn't fit neatly into our textbooks. Not at first. A dark, unusually quiet object, with a brightness that flickered like a malfunctioning lantern. In a world conditioned by movies and government hearings about unidentified aerial phenomena, the timing was perfect for panic. People wanted a mystery. They always want a mystery. The internet crowned it a potential alien artifact before the telescope domes even finished opening. Some imagined a derelict probe drifting through the galaxy. Others insisted it was a disguised starship, scouting our system with the subtlety of a tourist ship trying not to wake the locals. Meanwhile, I found myself in the middle, too grounded to indulge the fantasies, too curious to dismiss them entirely. After all, science begins with doubt, not dogma. NASA, predictably, remained calm and asked everyone to take a deep breath. They have experience with cosmic overreactions. Their official statements were precise. We need more observations. It's the scientific version of telling the public to stop screaming into the void. But that's the problem. Humans hate waiting. We crave answers delivered at the speed of outrage. In private, I reminded my colleagues that skepticism and imagination must coexist. If there is even one chance in a million that an interstellar object carries hints of another civilization, then rejecting that possibility without investigation would be irresponsible. The universe is large enough to humble all of us, but humility is in short supply. As more telescopes locked onto 3I/ATLAS, its behavior continued to blur the lines. Its rotation seemed chaotic. Its reflectivity shifted in ways that sparked new questions. And that's when the debate ignited for real. To some, the lack of an immediate comet tail meant it had to be artificial, some sort of broken metallic hull or ancient interstellar frame drifting through darkness. To others, it was simply a misinterpreted icy fragment from a solar system we'd never know. I found myself returning to one thought: strangers trigger projection. We don't see what they are. We see what we fear or hope they might be. When the first spectral hints suggested something odd, even I paused. It wasn't conclusive. It never is at the beginning. But anomalies seduce the mind. And I allowed myself to ask the question that has haunted astronomers for generations. What if this is not just a rock? It didn't help that culture was primed for drama. Between congressional hearings on unexplained aerial phenomena and Hollywood's relentless parade of extraterrestrial plotlines, we were living through a renaissance of cosmic paranoia. But curiosity without discipline is chaos, and I refuse chaos. So I kept looking deeper, waiting for data solid enough to erode hype, and yet, somewhere inside me, the child who first looked up at the night sky still whispered, "But what if?" A visitor from another star system forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our significance, our assumptions, our fragility. Even before we know what it is, we project our cosmic loneliness onto it. We imagine civilizations more advanced than ours, or more reckless, or more enlightened. We imagine judgment, salvation, threat, anything except indifference, because the worst possibility is not invasion, it is irrelevance. 3IATLAS moved toward the inner system slowly, quietly, its faint signature tugging at our collective imagination. I could feel the tension not just in scientific circles, but in the streets, online, in conversations whispered like confessions. People wanted answers, answers I didn't have yet. But I knew this much: whatever 3IATLAS truly was, its arrival would teach us far more about ourselves than about the cosmos. I didn't have to wait long before the first wave of evidence washed over the public. Images sharpened beyond what the instruments could produce, light curves adjusted by people who didn't know how to read them, theories stitched together from scraps of misunderstanding. Every time I opened my inbox, there was a new message proclaiming that 3IATLAS was obviously a probe, a beacon, or a cosmic warning sign. Some even claimed it was slowing down intentionally, as if a fragment the size of a modest building was performing a careful ballet to impress us. Meanwhile, the actual data coming from telescopes was messy, subtle, and deeply uncooperative. Natural objects rarely behave like tidy textbook diagrams, and interstellar ones even less so. When you're studying something that has traveled for millions of years, battered by radiation and the emptiness of deep space, you expect strangeness. You expect scars. But the world didn't want scars. They wanted signatures. They wanted technology. NASA's cautious updates only inflamed the impatience. Whenever an agency refuses to speculate, people translate that silence into conspiracy. They assume withholding means hiding, as if scientists spend their evenings passing secret alien memos under the table with our coffee. The truth is far more mundane. We're too busy trying not to misinterpret noise as revelation. I kept studying the object's reflectivity pattern, looking for a rhythm that might reveal its structure. The brightness variation didn't settle into a predictable pattern, which some took as a coded signal. I recognized it instead as the wobble of an irregular tumbling body, like a cosmic rock trying to spin itself back together after eons of erosion. Still, anomalies persisted. A dip here, an unexpected flare there, enough to keep curiosity alive. Then came the moment the speculation reached a fever pitch. A popular talk show invited an expert who claimed that 3IATLAS showed signs of manufactured geometry. Manufactured, as if civilizations build spacecraft that mimic frozen mud balls on purpose. I watched the segment with equal parts irritation and amusement. Humans love stories where they are the main character, even if the story takes place billions of miles from home. What kept me grounded were the observations from Meerkat, one of the most sensitive radio telescopes on Earth. When the first report of hydroxyl emission came through, my reaction was simple. That's water. Water broken apart by sunlight, a process older than human language. It wasn't a message. It wasn't a distress signal. It was chemistry. Mundane, beautiful chemistry. Of course, try telling that to the audience already convinced 3IATLAS was a stealth emissary from another star system. When the data pointed toward strong water outgassing, critics insisted the readings were fabricated. According to them, scientists always fabricate data when reality refuses to be extraordinary. But the truth was finally arriving in quiet fragments. More observatories reported the same signatures, the unmistakable fingerprints of water vapor. And if something is releasing water vapor in space, it's not a starship, it's a comet, a perfectly normal, thoroughly unremarkable comet with an interstellar passport. Still, I wasn't satisfied, not because I believed in alien hardware, but because science demands exhaustion of all possibilities, even the improbable ones. I spent long nights reviewing spectral lines, digging through temperature models, considering the improbable sculpting of an interstellar object. Was its shape elongated? Possibly. Was it emitting unusual brightness patterns? Yes. Did that make it artificial? No, it made it interesting. And interesting is enough. What frustrated me most wasn't the speculation, it was the speed of conclusion. People weren't waiting for evidence to accumulate. They wanted a verdict delivered before the cosmos even whispered its clues. We live in an age where silence is intolerable. The moment the universe doesn't answer instantly, someone fills the void with noise. While the public debated exotic theories, the actual explanation was gradually stabilizing. Observations from multiple observatories captured bursts of activity, jets of water vapor erupting from the surface of 3IATLAS like a cosmic fountain. Not a propulsion system, not a communication signal, just sunlight striking volatile ice. A perfectly ordinary behavior for a comet, interstellar or not. When NASA released the confirmation, activity consistent with cometary outgassing, I expected calm. Instead, a new theory erupted. NASA was covering up the truth. There was a strange, almost comedic resilience in the desire to believe the extraordinary. To many, a natural comet was somehow less satisfying than the possibility of extraterrestrial engineering. And yet we must remember, skepticism is not the enemy of curiosity. It is its compass. For me, each new fragment of data stripped away the fog around 3I/ATLAS. Its chemistry aligned with known cometary behavior. Its jets of water explained the brightness fluctuations. The radio signatures confirmed molecular dissociation driven by sunlight. Piece by piece, the puzzle assembled itself, not into a spacecraft, but into a relic of cosmic migration. Still, even as evidence accumulated, I felt no disappointment. I never wanted 3I/ATLAS to be an alien artifact. What I wanted was the truth, regardless of its glamour. And truth arrived like it always does. Quietly, stubbornly, indifferent to our expectations. I realized then that the real story wasn't about the object itself. It was about the way humanity reacted to it, about how quickly we build myths from uncertainty, about how desperate we are for cosmic companionship, and how terrified we are of the possibility that we might not deserve it. 3I/ATLAS wasn't a messenger, but it was a mirror. By the time the scientific consensus began to solidify, the noise outside the academic world had reached a pitch that was almost comical. Everywhere I went, conferences, interviews, even coffee shops, someone wanted to challenge the idea that 3I/ATLAS could be natural. The resistance didn't surprise me. Humans cling to extraordinary interpretations, even when ordinary explanations are not just sufficient but elegant. The irony was that the scientific process was working exactly as it should. We gathered data, we compared independent observations, we checked for patterns, ruled out biases, questioned assumptions. Each layer of analysis peeled back the mystery until what remained was a coherent physical picture, but coherence is boring to those who crave cosmic theater. When NASA finally released high-resolution imaging showing jets erupting from the surface of 3I/ATLAS, thin streams of water vapor illuminated by sunlight, I felt the weight of speculation begin to crumble. You don't find controlled propulsion in a chaotic, icy jet. You don't hide alien engineering inside molecular spectra that match every comet studied since the dawn of spectroscopy. Nature has signatures, so does engineering, and these were nature's. Yet even then, a part of me stayed alert, not because I believed in a hidden machine, but because anomalies deserve respect. If something in the data refuses to align, you follow it until it does. That is the duty of any scientist, especially in a universe that consistently breaks our assumptions. But 3I/ATLAS was no breaker of laws. It behaved like a wounded traveler, cold, wandering, shedding pieces of itself as it warmed near the sun. Nevertheless, the public conversation turned into a battlefield. Some insisted the jets looked too symmetrical, which they absolutely did not. Others argued that the hydroxyl emission detected by Meerkat could not be natural, ignoring the fact that it was identical to thousands of similar detections from traditional comets. I found myself explaining the same principles repeatedly, as if clarity were a finite resource and I had to ration it carefully. The funniest accusations suggested I was personally part of a cover-up. According to those theories, I, someone who publicly encourages searching for extraterrestrial technology, was suddenly hell-bent on suppressing evidence of extraterrestrial technology. The contradiction didn't bother them. Conspiracies have no need for logic. They thrive on emotional gravity. Still, under the noise, something more meaningful was happening. Scientists across the world were collaborating with a level of openness that reminded me why I entered this field in the first place. Teams from Chile, South Africa, Hawaii, and Europe kept refining the data. Each independent confirmation of water vapor, each light curve stability report, each spectroscopic match nudged 3IATLAS further into the realm of the known. But the public rarely celebrates certainty. Certainty feels anticlimactic. In one televised debate, I said something that sparked a wave of both mockery and agreement. If this object is artificial, it's doing a terrible job hiding its natural behavior. I meant it as a gentle reminder that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But people heard what they wanted. Some turned it into a rallying cry, others into an accusation. The universe remained indifferent. What became clear to me, though, was how deeply the human psyche needed the idea of visitors. The thought that a civilization older than ours might send scouts across the cosmos comforted some and terrified others. It gave shape to our collective loneliness. It offered a narrative in which we were important enough to be noticed. But the truth is far simpler and far more humbling. We are not the center of the cosmic story. We are one chapter in a vast library where most books remain unopened. 3IATLAS was one of those unopened books drifting by, offering only a glimpse of its worn pages. As the final data sets arrived, I reviewed them with meticulous care. The thermal models confirmed sublimation. The rotation analysis showed the erratic tumbling expected of an object shaped by random collisions. The chemical signatures were consistent with ices we'd cataloged countless times before. There was no mystery left, just beauty, raw, natural beauty. And yet I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and melancholy. Satisfaction because the scientific story was complete. Melancholy because the world's fascination would soon fade. People don't stay captivated by truth unless it sparkles with spectacle. They wanted a visitor. They got a comet. But there was a deeper message hidden in the entire chaos. The pursuit of understanding is valuable even when the answer is ordinary. Curiosity isn't about landing on the extraordinary every time. It's about refusing to turn away from the unknown. Late one night, after finalizing a report, I walked outside and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, 3IATLAS was continuing its long, lonely trajectory back into the dark. It would pass from our proximity and disappear into the abyss, taking its secrets with it. But it left behind something we needed more than confirmation of alien technology, a reminder that our hunger for meaning often overshadows the quiet elegance of natural phenomena. As I stood there beneath the empty winter sky, I understood something essential. We don't need visitors from another civilization to feel awe. The universe itself is enough. It always has been. As the scientific dust settled, the broader lesson began to crystallize, not about 3IATLAS itself, but about the way we responded to it. The moment we confirmed the cometary nature of the object, the world seemed almost disappointed. Some people reacted as if science had stolen their dream. Others accused researchers of lacking imagination. But imagination without discipline is just noise. The cosmos deserves more from us than reckless speculation. In the academic community, though, there was a quiet sense of victory. not because we debunked a conspiracy, but because we demonstrated, once again, that skepticism and curiosity can coexist without canceling each other out. Healthy doubt pushes us to investigate. Excessive certainty, either in the extraordinary or the mundane, blinds us. And 3IATLAS forced us to walk that thin line between wonder and rigor. I remember telling a colleague that science advances not by embracing every extraordinary claim, but by refusing to let any claim, ordinary or extraordinary, go untested. Even the most unlikely hypothesis deserves a moment in the light, if only to confirm its improbability. That's why I entertained the possibility, however small, that 3I/ATLAS could be artificial. Not because I wanted it to be true, but because ignoring that possibility would be intellectually lazy. But once the evidence made its verdict clear, the responsible thing was to accept it. Acceptance, however, remains an underappreciated virtue. Many prefer a universe filled with secrets rather than one filled with patterns. But the patterns are what make the universe readable. Without them, we would be lost in chaos. Yet something else fascinated me: how quickly misinformation spread during the process. A blurry image, a speculative headline, a misquoted scientist, and suddenly the narrative spiraled into absurdity. Some of the claims were so detached from reality that they bordered on satire. One social media post insisted that a distant flicker of light proved 3I/ATLAS was rotating its solar panels. Another argued that the hydroxyl emission line was obviously a coded transmission. The creativity was impressive. The reasoning was non-existent. It made me think about our evolutionary wiring. We are descendants of wanderers who interpreted every rustle in the grass as a sign, sometimes of prey, sometimes of danger. That instinct kept us alive. But in a world filled with telescopes and satellites, that same instinct now tricks us. We look at a cosmic rock and see intention. We see patterns where there are none. We see ourselves reflected in the void. I found myself asking a more philosophical question. Why does the idea of an alien visitor excite us more than the idea of an alien ocean, an alien mountain range, or an alien storm? Why must meaning be intelligent to be profound? The universe is full of wonders that don't think, don't build, don't communicate, yet they are magnificent. A comet traveling between stars for millions of years is no less awe-inspiring than a hypothetical spacecraft. It carries the story of its birthplace, chemical fingerprints, cosmic weathering, history etched into ice and dust. But humans crave narrative. A spacecraft fits neatly into one. A natural object demands patience, and patience is in short supply. Some people asked me whether the scientific consensus meant we should stop searching for extraterrestrial technology. Absolutely not. In fact, it strengthened the case for better searches. The more we understand natural interstellar objects, the better prepared we are to identify the unnatural ones, if they ever come. But the search must be guided by evidence, not by emotional urgency. The emotional urgency, however, exposed something deeper: a cultural hunger, a longing for connection, a desire to believe we are not alone, not abandoned in a vast cosmic silence. Perhaps this explains why rumors of alien visitors spread faster than confirmations of natural explanations. Hope travels faster than facts, but hope without truth is just mythology. Still, I couldn't deny the humor in our collective reaction. The moment scientists announced that 3I/ATLAS was a natural comet, some people complained as if the aliens had cancelled their reservation at the last minute. Others joked that extraterrestrials had taken one look at Earth and decided to turn around. Between climate politics, artificial intelligence debates, and endless cultural conflict, maybe they figured we weren't ready for guests. Sometimes even I wondered, if an alien civilization truly were scouting our solar system, what would they think? Would they admire our telescopes or laugh at our internet arguments? Would they see us as promising or problematic? The truth might be embarrassing either way. But humor aside, there was something grounding in the simplicity of the final conclusion. 3I/ATLAS was not technology. It was a visitor, yes, but a natural one. a fragment of cosmic geology passing through our sunlit neighborhood. Its value wasn't diminished by that. If anything, it reminded us that interstellar objects are not rare curiosities, but inevitable travelers. If we detected one, we will detect others, perhaps thousands in the coming decades, and each arrival will test us again. Will we rush to conclusions? Will we learn to be patient? Will we let our imagination guide our curiosity without overpowering it? The real test wasn't whether 3IATLAS was alien. The real test was whether we could remain scientific in the face of uncertainty. That test is ongoing. In the quiet that followed the scientific verdict, I found myself thinking less about the object and more about ourselves. 3IATLAS had passed through our solar system like a cosmic whisper, and we responded with a roar. It arrived indifferent and left unchanged, but its presence exposed the truth about human nature. We are far more dramatic than the universe needs us to be. People kept asking me what lesson we should take from all of this. They wanted a grand message, a philosophical imprint, a revelation that justified the excitement. But the lesson was disarmingly simple. The universe is under no obligation to satisfy our expectations. We project intelligence, intention, and narrative onto objects that have none. We mistake our curiosity for cosmic significance, and we confuse the extraordinary with the meaningful. I told one interviewer that if an alien civilization truly wanted to visit Earth, they wouldn't send a frozen, tumbling comet as their emissary. They would arrive with clarity, or perhaps not at all, but more likely, if intelligent beings ever do observe us, they will do what travelers often do when encountering a chaotic place on the road. Take one look, shake their heads, and quietly move along, not out of fear, but out of self-preservation. After all, what would they see? A species arguing about whether the planet is flat while launching telescopes able to see galaxies billions of years away. A species capable of decoding the secrets of quantum mechanics, but eager to believe blurry photos on social media. A species simultaneously brilliant and bewildering. If extraterrestrials are watching, they may need seat belts, not for space turbulence, but for us. In the end, 3IATLAS was a visitor between stars, a natural traveler passing through our neighborhood, offering a fleeting glimpse of the vastness beyond. It didn't speak to us, but it didn't need to. Its silence was enough. Its presence reminded us that we are part of something immense, ancient, and indifferent, that humility is not a punishment but a gift. We don't need conspiracies to feel wonder. We don't need alien technology to feel awe. All we need is the willingness to look up, to question responsibly, to let the universe surprise us on its own terms. As I watched the last measurements trickle in, confirming its departure toward the outer darkness, I felt no disappointment. I felt gratitude. Gratitude for the data, for the debate, for the reminder that the pursuit of understanding is a journey without a final destination. 3IATLAS did not bring us a message from another civilization. It brought us something far more valuable, a mirror. And in that mirror, we saw our curiosity, our impatience, our imagination, our flaws, and our hunger for meaning. The universe will send more visitors. Some will be ordinary. One day, one might not be. But whether the next traveler is a comet, a fragment of rock, or something entirely unexpected, our responsibility remains the same. Approach it with open minds, disciplined methods, and a humility worthy of the cosmos. And when the next interstellar object arrives, as it surely will, I hope we greet it not with panic or conspiracy, but with the quiet confidence that comes from understanding who we are and who we are striving to become.